other Kennedy. It's really a very happy occasion to have a presidential candidate in our city. We feel the Kennedy family is a part of it here at Wahoo. The college up on the hill has been named after the late John F. Kennedy.
I think we're over the hill, that's what it is.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my appreciation to you for coming today and participating in this affair. I'm very, very grateful to you. Represent the different political persuasion than I do. But I just want you to know that I'm elected President of the United States. I'm going to welcome you in Washington. And Nelson, I want to thank you for your kind introduction. Tell you how much grateful I am to you. And I'm very appreciative to all of you for coming out to Wahoo. Very, very grateful to both bands. And I appreciate you, man.
He's gone.
So I ended up in the triangle, which I thought was a position of tremendous responsibility. But I'm very, very honored that you would come, all three bands, and I'm very, very, very pleased to see all of you. I feel it's appropriate that I'm standing in front of you. Lucky. Shoe store, and I live in Wahoo. I keep them in business. And I come here to ask you to help me tomorrow and make me what is described at your local movie house. And by tomorrow night. Done and what I think the country stands for. Not just what we've done in the past, although I'm proud of what we've done in the past. I'm proud of what we've done over the period of the last 8 years in many, many different areas. But I'm also concerned in the direction that the United States is moving in. I think we could do much better in this country. I think we can do better about the violence and the lawlessness. A high administration official said that we can expect the rioting to go on summer after summer. Even in other nations of the world, we're going to have the best possible issue. But we can... Ladies and gentlemen, we can do a lot in this country. Why should I run for president? She said, because if you run for president, you can enter the Nebraska primary. And I said, well, why is it so important to enter the Nebraska primary? She said, if you enter the Nebraska primary, maybe you'll get a chance to visit Wahoo. I mean, it was a conversation, something like that. Despite what all of these other people say, just think who's doing the most for the farmer right now. The nation expects to be ignorant and free, expects what never was, never will be. You're the proof of it here in the Wahoo, how important you think it is. And you're also proof of what people can do themselves. Not people 1,000 miles away, but what you can do yourself. I'm proud to end my campaign, my last day of my campaign here at Wahoo. I'm proud to be with all of you. I think of what George Bernard Shaw once wrote. That some people see things as they are.
Stop, Lauren's voice stop with the babies. What?
We met when, Monsignor? You and I met.
Well, last time you were here when your brother was running.
May I have your
When your
autograph,
wife was out here, you were out here at that time.
Okay, away we go.
be a citizen. First of all, we're going to make the senator a citizen of Boys Town. He's such a good man. I know you kids were better probably, or worse, or like myself. Great person. But what? Omaha. Diploma, where are we giving that to? Hey, what is it?
Haven't deserved that yet.
Oh, yeah. But really deserve to be a citizen of Boys Town, and I hope that you'll always keep treasure this and put it in his office. That's the main thing. Remind him of Boys Town and the kids that are here. So
Thanks very
good
much.
luck to you guys. Are you all here now? Yeah.
Monsignor, I'm delighted to be here. Delighted to see all of you. I visited Boys Town, I think in 1960, in another campaign. My wife and I came by here, and then I knew Father Flanagan, who established Boys Town. I met him right after the war, and we used to correspond with one another. And then I used to meet him occasionally. So I'm delighted to be back, and I'm delighted to see all of you. And realize once again what Boys Town has done and the effort that it's made and the success that so many of the graduates from Boys Town have had around the country. They're great possibilities and great opportunities. I think, of course, it's a little easier for me to say that. Actually, I worked my way up the hard way. Yeah.
Where's on the Pueblo? Commander
Sometimes
Butcher.
it was a bit hard. But in any case, I understand, and I'm not coming to lecture you, as I'm sure every speaker does, about the great opportunities, the great possibilities once you leave here. But the fact is that there are opportunities for people. There are chances and also responsibilities, which I think is the most important thing. If we're going to deal with any of the problems that we have within the United States, we're going to have to make the best of what you have here in your own lives, and then take an interest in what's going on around you and your communities and in the state and in the country. Because it's your country. We have an election in 1968 which has much more of an effect on you and what's going to happen to you than it has an effect on me. Because we have the capacity now to destroy all of mankind, we in the United States and the Soviet Union. So if we make a wrong decision, well, we've lived half or two-thirds of our lives, those of us who are running for political office, but you're just the beginning. You're starting out in your life. So that's why politics is so important, political life is so important, and what happens and what decisions are made. That's why really it's not only in your interest, but almost your responsibility to take an interest, active interest in what is going on in the world and what is going on in the world of politics. The decisions that are made in 1968 are going to have a tremendous effect on what kind of a existence we're going to have here in the United States and what kind of an existence we're going to have around the rest of the globe. Whether I look out in your audience and I see blacks and I see whites, whether blacks and whites are going to be able to live together. I see those who have Spanish blood in their veins, and whether they're going to be able to live alongside white people and live alongside and be able to work out a relationship with the black members. That's the basic question. We demonstrated here that it can be done. It has to be done around the rest of the globe. It has to be done here within the United States. We can make a contribution to all of that. And it's not just a chance to make a contribution to it, but really you have a responsibility to make a contribution to it. And really a responsibility to make an effort. I look at all of you, I compare your lives to my life. So much easier. Your lives more difficult. But then a couple of days ago we visited homes for the mentally retarded, and their lives are far more difficult, where they're never going to recover. And correspond with one another. I was a great admirer of his. I always remember the poster, Father, he's not so heavy, he's my brother. But then I visited in 1960, and I've been a very great supporter of the effort that's been made here, and I think that also the great things that all of you, those, the graduates of Boys Town have done, and also the great possibilities that you have as far as the future is concerned. I'm glad to see Father McMahon again. We were in Concepcion together, and we had some trouble at the university with some communist students, and Father McMahon took off his collar, and we had rather a brawl. Put an extra effort in your classrooms or your schools. That's going to have an effect on what happens to you later on in your own existence, later on in your own relationship to your family, later on in your own relationship to your community.
Duck, you hit him, huh?
I kidding. Oh, he's alright, that kid. He dragged on the car and then he fell. He held on. Yeah, he just skinned himself.
Some behind us, some right there, all around us.
And we all looked around at each other up here on the stage. And I was the only one willing to get up, so you can listen to me. Would you want to sit down? Well, I don't know. I want to first express my appreciation to all of those from Creighton University who participated in my campaign, all of those who have been willing to canvass and make an effort over the period of the last few weeks, and all those who were actively involved at the moment. I wanted to come here and express my gratitude because you've been very, very helpful and made a major difference in my campaign. So thank you. I can see die from overwork, a third from drinking, and a third go on to be rulers of their country. And I know which third is here today. You don't know what I'm thinking. But I thought instead of making a boy campaign, and really has, as I set out at Boys Town, has greater importance to you than really it does to the elder generation. Because for the first time, we can talk about that. George Norris, who was one of the great citizens of the state of Nebraska, said what our efforts and our aims must be for the next generation, or the generations that are yet unborn. And that's really true. But it's more true now than even when George Norris lived, because now we have the capacity to destroy all mankind. We have the capacity, the United States has the capacity, and the Soviet Union has the capacity. So this isn't a question, this campaign or election or political year, it's not a question of just the quality of life that's going to be here in the United States, whether farm prices are going to go up, what we're going to do in the cities, whether blacks and whites are going to be able to live together. But it's almost basically whether we are going to be able to survive in this century, whether mankind's going to be able to survive in this century. We have all of the capacity to send a man to the moon. We have the capacity to develop atomic weapons. We have all of this scientific advancement that we made here in the United States and other countries have made. But whether we can control these elements, but whether we can control ourselves, that's the basic question. And in the last analysis, that's what government's about. And whether we're able to develop a system within our own country that we can develop, that we can control ourselves. My feeling is that over the period of the last several years that we've lost some of that capacity. Or otherwise we wouldn't have this violence and the lawlessness and the disorder and the rioting that has taken place in the United States. The people feel that in order to bring about change, that they have to take to the streets. I don't think that's acceptable within our country. But that's the direction that some of our citizens are moving in. They've lost so much faith and so much confidence in our system and in our government that they feel there's no future under the system, that there's no future under the law in this country. So that they move in a different direction. And we move in different directions in our relationship with other nations. Not trying to, or making an effort to try to resolve our differences in a peaceful way, but we're resolving our differences in the last analysis by seeing whether we can shoot 10 times as many of their men as they shoot of our men. And thereby we win. And what do we win at the last analysis after we won? After that is over, and after that is completed. If we keep going in that direction, into that kind of a war. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, may he live in interesting times, and that's what's happened to us. It's a curse. We happen to live in interesting times. And we live in the times in which men can now destroy one another, and men are frequently, if we look over the period of the last 50 years, men move in that direction. And rather than to try to develop whether you become actively involved, and those like you on campuses all across the United States become actively involved for public good. That's a major question. And the question that you have to ask yourself, and or with my record, for good or for bad, speak for itself at this moment. Since 1967, and had my conversations there in connection with some of the possibilities. Those who were felt that something could be done, felt negotiations had to be really divided into two separate parts. One of the parts was going to be the negotiations that we would conduct with the North Vietnamese. I always felt those negotiations were important. We are beginning to have those negotiations. Those negotiations are preliminary to any negotiations that are then held with the National Liberation Front and the Viet Cong. And that's going to be even a more difficult area. But I think that to get to the second step, you have to take the first step. And we've changed our policy and are now taking the first step. I think why I'm in favor of it is because I'm against unilaterally withdrawing from Vietnam. And I'm in favor of us starting those negotiations as soon as possible. Because I think the policies that we've been following over the period of the last few years are just going to lead us nowhere. I can go back to my own. What other than money, what's the difference between you and Senator MacArthur? Oh, charm.
Watch it, I'm rolling.
Sense of humor. I think he's occasionally ruthless, but I don't tolerate that. I would be also in favor of their taking over the front. We're 25% greater than those killed in the South Vietnam. Because this is where the people themselves decide, here in the state of Nebraska. It's not just politicians. It's not just a number of political leaders who are going to get together and decide who's going to be president of the United States. It's here in the state of Nebraska, the people themselves make a judgment, make a decision as to what direction they wish to move it. And this is the year in which they can do it, 1968. It's not going to be 1969 or 1970 or 1971. It's the year 1968. And here, unlike most all of the other states, you decide. We're not all here. I'm not campaigning in the shopping center in Omaha because I've always wanted to come to the shopping center in Omaha. I want to come to the shopping center in Omaha, and so I'd have a chance to visit Walgreens drugstore. But I'm campaigning here because I need your votes. I'm campaigning, but it's not as we do in many states, where we'll go in and meet with 12 people, they decide to vote for you. But here you decide, and we discuss issues, 60 than any other state. If you're going to do something, you might as well either do the best or the worst. Well, we did it worst in Nebraska. But I'm still smiling at you. And why I came back for seconds, well, anyway, that's a longer story. Let me just say that my argument has been so The question was, can I just finish my speech? I'll get to that. The question was, how far should the United States negotiate? But let me just give you just a couple more minutes of your time. I've been in favor of those discussions for 2.5 years because I thought that we were running the war as America's war, that we made this America's conflict, that this was their war, this is their conflict. We could go in and help them. We could help the South Vietnamese, but we couldn't win it for them. And I think the great mistake was that we went in there and decided that we'd win it for them, that we'd provide the will and the desire for the government of South Vietnam, and you couldn't do that. They had corruption, they had dishonesty, and they wouldn't put in land reform, and they wouldn't put in political reform, and they wouldn't put in economic reform. Thereby, they didn't get they didn't gain the support of the people themselves. And I looked down at their little face and the tear goes, I didn't do well in Omaha. And then they say, well, how did you do in Nebraska? Well, everybody forgot to come out and vote. You wouldn't do that, would you? Yes, you would.
Slow it down, slow it down.
Bright Omaha day. Tell you how much I appreciate your support and how much I appreciate your effort. I want to thank particularly the black students at Omaha University for all the work that they did for registration. Let's give them a big hand. People in the black area of Omaha. Great. my particular appreciation to Archie Godfrey and the other students, to Senator Edward Danner for all of the work that he did, the effort that he made, to Reverend Williams, the members of... I want to thank all of you for coming. Tomorrow's the election. What we have to do is not just come to rally. All we can find is a bright sunny day and stay home. Yeah, I know, you're going to stay home. If you can come out in the rain, you can go out and vote. It's going to be a nice day tomorrow, you can go out and vote. Will you help me tomorrow and go out and vote? We can make a difference in the United States. Let me just take a couple minutes. We can make a difference in the United States. Just one moment, would you? If whites and blacks make an effort together, if I'm elected President of the United States, I'm going to work for those who are deprived, those who are poor, those who lack jobs, those who lack decent education, and lack a decent housing, whether they be white or black. That I pledge to you. But this is the year in which we can make change. It's in 1968. This is the year we can make the change, and we can make it through the ballot box. Violence or lawlessness or rioting makes no sense whatsoever in the United States. Listen to me, I want to talk to you now. The rioting or the violence or the lawlessness makes no sense here in the city of Omaha, makes no sense in the state of Nebraska, and makes no sense across the United States. If I'm elected President of the United States, I'm going to make all the effort that I can to ensure that we don't have this kind of violence here within our own country. And I'm also going to make sure, that I'm going to pledge myself to ensure that every one of our citizens, whether he be black or white, is given equality and given a decent opportunity within our own country. Now this is the year in which we can change things. Things have to be changed. A man has to have a decent education so he can find a job. A man has to have a decent kind of training so that if he wants to go on to a college education, he has the right to do so. That's what you stand for, that's what I stand for, that's what I think the vast majority of American students and people stand for. That's what this election is about. We can provide decent housing for all of our citizens. I stand for that, I think you stand for that, and I think the vast majority of American citizens stand for that. Let's work together to accomplish. But let's do it in this year 1968. This is in the ballot box. As Abraham Lincoln said, it's in the ballot box that we can bring the change. I ask your help, not just in protest, not just to complain about the condition. Let's begin to do it here in Omaha in the state of Nebraska tomorrow on Tuesday, May 17th. Will you help me? People who pay the taxes, they don't want the welfare system. Those who are the recipients are not satisfied with the welfare system. What we have to understand in the United States is we have to move away from the welfare system as much as possible and provide decent jobs and decent pay for all of our citizens. That's what I stand for, and that's what I think you stand for. Let's get some private industry in here so that we can get decent jobs, and let's have this election. Let's make this election through peaceful. That whites and blacks work together. Ladies and gentlemen, do you believe that we still here in the United States can get blacks and whites to work together to bring about the kinds of changes?